Short of buying and trying a bunch of microphones, how can you determine which mic is best for you? Now, this is a very difficult thing to do because the answer is you need to buy the microphone and try it. That's the only way you're going to know for certain. But the second best way is to listen to as many samples as you can possibly find, especially if you can find somebody who is demoing microphones that has a similar voice to you, somebody with a similar range and somebody with a similar, I guess, timbre to their voice. Is it more nasally? Is it more boomy? What does their voice sound like? Finding somebody who has a similar voice to you and is testing out multiple microphones is really going to be the only other way to go about it. It gets even better if you find somebody who has a similar voice to you and they have a sample on a microphone that you know and have and are familiar with, because that will allow you additional context. For instance, I know how I sound on the SM7B and I know what my voice sounds like. So if I were to hear somebody speaking into the SM7B, I would be able to get a better ballpark of how the SM7B sounds on their voice or what their voice actually sounds like. Because I know how the SM7B affects the tone of my voice, then I should be able to extrapolate that information and start to understand how their voice actually sounds. Once in my mind, I reverse the coloration that the SM7B imparts on their voice. Does that make sense? I don't know if that made sense. In my head, that made sense. So once you have or hear them speaking onto a microphone that you're familiar with, if they then have other audio samples, you should be able to get an even better understanding of the performance of those microphones. And that is why I personally started to include a bunch of samples of myself speaking into 7 different microphones in a microphone review. Instead of just speaking into the mic that I'm reviewing, that's good and great and grand and all, but that leaves the audio that I'm recording in a vacuum. And that's not the case. Audio is not recorded in a vacuum. It's not even possible. You need air to transmit audio. That's beside the point, though. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. If you just listen to a microphone on its own without paying attention to anything else that exists around it, you can't really determine what the quality of that microphone is because you need to have other points of reference. To summarize my thoughts here, if you can find somebody who speaks into microphones, as many microphones as they can, that's going to give you a better understanding of those microphones, especially if they have provided audio samples of themselves speaking into a microphone that you own and are familiar with. Then it will give you much better context of what your potential future microphones will be. Really, it comes down to going ahead and buying microphones to really determine if it is accurate.